Alright, welcome to another solo leveling rise video. So they uploaded the patch notes for the hunter and rune skill balance notes, and this is crazy because this is I think the second time they've buffed characters, and this time they're actually buffing characters that are still very strong. So let's go over what they do. So let's start with Choi Jong-in. So his A2, they increase his attack by 2%. Which I think puts him in line with most new characters where A2 buffs is around 10%. So that's okay, but the best change that they have is this A5. So before, his A5 didn't work in teamfight modes, such as Power of Destruction and Battlefield of Chaos. But now it does, as well as they buffed him by almost 100% when he's tagged out. So that's good. So in teamfight mode, the cooldown of his ultimate passes 1.5 times faster, and recharges the power gauge by 0.4 every second. Very strong. Really good change. Now he's actually usable in Power of Destruction. And he might... I don't know. Libora is actually pretty good there. And I don't know how Yusu Hyun does there yet. But he might be good in there too. But as of right now, this makes him usable in Battlefield of Chaos, at least, when the enemy is weak to fire. So yeah, move on to the next one is Im Tae-gyu. So with Im Tae-gyu, they buffed his magic arrows damage by 10%, but since it fires 2 every basic attack, so it's just pretty much a 20% buff. And then they changed his 8-3, where when he uses his shoot and maneuver, which is his skill 1, it grants the magic boost effect, which is his passive. So let's just go in the database real quick. How does he get his magic boost? If it's only from airborne burst, which is his QTE, that means you can consistently get that now. So, great change. Underrated change, but that's an 8-3 change, so that's a little further than what most people. That would have been nice if they put that in a passive, but move on to the next character, Hwang Dong-soo. Hwang Dong-soo's change for his 8-3, a lot of these changes are for the advancement, which is kind of crazy. So these are more for people who's been playing for a while. So they changed this to every time the user uses Urge to Kill or Greed Scavenger, it grants Madness effect. Let's go back here. I believe the Madness effect is what is buff. So, let me see. I think it's over here. So, Madness increases the user defense and defense spend by 4%, stacking up to 3 times. Duration, 6 seconds. So, every time he uses Greed Scavenger, which is his skill 2, which is his charge up attack. How do you even do that? You can't even stack that 3 times when it's old. But now, since you can use this up to 3 times, you can get Madness stack to max instantly. So, that's a very good change. That's an amazing change. That just gives you 12% defense spend and defense. And then the next one is a Gentle Touch, which is his exclusive weapons A4. That increases the wind damage by 10%. I guess that's good. So with Woojin Cho, suppresses core attack, it has super armor now. So all his skills have super armor. That's okay. That's not really what he needs. Serious Punch, movement after the skill usage will be improved. Can't really judge that based on text. His A1, they removed the cooldown penalty, which is amazing. Because when the first time I did a recording of a showcase for Woojin Cho, that's the worst part of him. When you get him A1, that made him worse. So now, instead of increasing the cooldown by 1 second, that used to be 2 seconds. That's crazy. Now it's gone. So, very good change. This wasn't needed at all. So now with his A3, when they added Judgment into the stipulation, Judgment is his QTE. It decreases the cooldown of all of his stuff. So when he comes in, that really don't do much. Because by the time you QTE in, you're gonna have all of your stuff off cooldown. Unless your mediation of power is not a full stack. So, I don't really get this one, but that's okay. So when the user uses Judgment, it activates the user's basic passive and enhances the effect. So it increases it to 35% in 7 seconds. That's not big also. Because if look at this, so before it get triggers by dash, which buffs his skills by, they changed this to 30% in 6 seconds during the patch. That's not really that big. And then they changed his weapon, they buffed it by 2 seconds. This change doesn't do anything. He had a 5% damage increase as well as remove the cooldown. He needs more damage. Yeah, that doesn't do much. On to the next one. This is the light version of Baekhyun. They increased the duration of his defense down to 12 seconds. That's good, especially in BOT. That means that that's gonna stay in there for 2 more seconds longer. That gives you a little bit more time to do your damage. That's good. And for here is 8-3. When the user uses Bottomless Pit, which I believe is his skill 2. Which one is Bottomless Pit? Oh, that's his QTE. So when you use his QTE, it grants you this effect. But now you can also do the White Flame Gale Kick, which is his skill 2. And then you get the Unlock White Flame, which is increases his damage by 30%. So now you get this even if you don't QTE in. I guess that's okay if you're starting as him. That doesn't really do much. And then his QTE. The nation is this. Move is that? I don't know what's going on here, but deals medium break damage. I guess they're buffing his QTE's damage to medium. What is it now? Yeah, it's medium already, so I'm not sure what it does. So Emma's ult got buff. Okay, more damage. Silver main Baekhyun holds buff. So inflicts Curse of the Magic Beast to target immune to bleed. Okay. Deals damage equal to 50% of his max HP. So he has a new bleed that bypasses normal bleed. So now they changed it so his increase of his core damage also affects those with his new debuff. That's very good. That means he's not useless in most contents that has a boss immune to bleed now. But he still has the problem that he deals damage to himself. So he's still very squishy. So he went from being the worst character in the game, in my opinion, to possibly the second worst character in the game. That doesn't do much. That just makes it so he's actually not useless. Into he's just kind of useless. I guess that's okay. Chahain buff. They increase her Q's damage to 412. Okay. And then her A1, now she has a super armor while Waltz of the Sword is active. That's insane. Especially since in BOT, there's a good chance you're just gonna get knocked down while you're using your dancer spam. So that's a great change for A1. And then for A5, they made it so you have an increased crit hit rate by 20% as well as an additional 2% based on how many stacks of dancer effect. Actually, no, never mind. The damage is 20%. The crit hit rate is 2%. Totaling up to 10%. Why couldn't they just made them both 20%? So this is gonna max out at 100%. Or at least change this to like 5%. That extra 10% crit hit rate. That's gonna annoy you even more, especially in Battlefield of Time when your Cha's not critting. That's weak. 2% is too low. Make that at least 5. 10% would be too much, but at least 5%. 10% is total is not high enough. I don't know. I thought that change was good to begin with, but I guess not so much anymore. So now let's go over Song Jinwoo's rune change, because we've been pretty much using the exact same runes. So I'm glad they're actually buffing other ones just to see which one that we can use. So let's start with Vital Strike. So which one is Vital Strike? So Vital Strike is the same one that has a Hone In. So they're buffing internal wounds. So internal wounds is the one that just decreases the target's defense. So now they're buffing the damage to 744%. That's pretty good. That's almost a 100% damage increase. So they pretty much double internal wounds damage, and it already lowers defense. So that's gonna be actually usable. Nice. I wish I can see how much damage the other ones do, so we can compare. Because Hone In is pretty high at like around 750. If this is only at 520 now, only 200% defense, so you lose damage for more utility. So that's pretty good. Now Mutilate. I've always liked Mutilate. So this is Phantom. So what the Phantom one does is that it resets cooldown, and then it scales off attack and HP. So now they increased it from 380 to 473. Just a little bit. They decreased the mana consumption by 75. That's big. Cut it by half. Good change. So I'm gonna have to play around with that when that comes out. And then the next one is Strike. So what Strike does is that it decreases the target's attack and defense by 8 seconds. So they increase the percentage by 100. So minimum change there. And then it has a new effect that when this skill hits, it activates and resets the cooldown of death. It increases the damage of death by 30%. Which one is death? Do they mean... Which one is death? Oh, let me just look over here. Let's figure out which one is death is. So this is Mutilate. And that one is Strike. If they're talking about Death's Dance, then that's gonna be a crazy one, especially if you have Wildfire. I'm not sure what Death is, but that could be good. Pair that up with Death's Dance, I guess. I guess if that's what they mean. So the next one is Dagger Toss, Bombardment. Which one is Bombardment? Bombardment is this one, which is increase the damage of 30% when attacking a knockdown enemy, and it knocks down. Damage buff. I don't think that's gonna be useful because Dagger Toss, the Electric Shock Dagger Toss, is so much better than all the other ones. Yeah, I don't think it really matters. So I don't think that doesn't do much. Double Slash, Multiply. So when let's go over which one is Multiply first. Multiply is this one, which is when the last attack combo hits, airborne. When defeating an enemy, there's a 50% chance to reset the cooldown. And then when using the skill, increase the damage of Mutilate, attacking up to 2 times. Okay, so decrease MP cost, as well as changing the cooldown for this by half. When this skill hits an elite or higher monster, there's a 50% chance the skill's cooldown will be reset. Okay, that's usable, especially if Mutilate is good. If one of these new Mutilate is actually usable, that could be very good. And then for Flame Slash, I think I have this one legendary. They increase it by a little bit. Decrease recall and increase hit range. What does that mean? When the last attack of this combo hits the airport. I don't really know what that means. Increase hit range is going to be good, I guess. I don't know what increased recall is, but vertical arts. I bet people don't know what vertical arts do except for crosshairs, because that's the only good one. So let's see. Sequent Explosion. I believe that's this one. This is the water one that deals a lot of damage on breaks. So they increased it by 100%. Decrease the cooldown between the first and second explosion after use. I guess that's good. I guess. Increased damage here. Reap. Reap is the dark one. So this one is the one with the counter. Yeah, so when this skill is used, applies a shield by 10%. When this counters attack, becomes invisible and increased damage and stuns. So what did I do? Activate and resets the cooldown of Shadow Step upon a successful counter attack. That's interesting. That changes your playstyle. That's gonna be interesting to use now. So your counter attack, you deal more damage, as well as you activate your Shadow Step for you to go full out. I like that. Reap might be very useful against bosses. Great change. So Gale, depending on number target. Okay, this is for non-boss. Increase damage by a good amount. Gathers the enemy by generating Gale. They just increased it. Okay. Reap looks like it's gonna be really good. I can't wait to use that. So, multi-strike. This is multi-strike. The first one is Rush. Rush is the water version. So, this is the one that increases crushing blows damage, as well as dealing a little bit of a break light poison. So what they did to this is that they increased the tick. Deals break damage every 3 seconds for. Okay, they increased the duration. This could be very good, especially for Battlefield of Time. Especially when you leave the enemy at that like small amount of break bar. This could be the one that lets you break that. So good. Illusion got a little bit of damage increase, and Illusion is the one that you go invisible. Every time the skill hits, decrease damage by 2%. I guess that's a tanking one that resets cooldown of your dagger toss. Not really that big. And Pommel is the light one. This is the one where you get super armor as well as increased hit rate with a reset. So a little bit of increased damage, a little MP down. That's good because it's gonna be the exact same cost after reset. And then they increase probably the break, so that's okay. Now Commander's Touch. Commander's Touch pretty much only has 2, which is Black Hole and I think Liberation. No, not Liberation. Absorption. Those were pretty much those 2 that's being used, and you can see they're not buffing those. So let's go with Finisher. They increase damage by almost 300%. So Finisher, this, it decreases the target's defense by 10%. So just more damage from that. And then for Liberation, a little bit of increased damage, but you can cast it twice. So when this skill hits, it activates and resets the cooldown of Collapse. Increase the damage of Collapse. Oh, I know what Death is now. Death is one of your QTE. So it just increases and activates your QTE. And it's the same for this one. So it just activates and resets the cooldown of your QTE. I guess that's not really that good. Because I don't really use those 2. The one that you use the most is Shadow Step, and you get that from Reap. So I guess decent change. For the rune skill wise, I don't see a lot of them as game breaking other than Reap. I guess we'll see. And then for Hunters, the only big change that really got it is Baekhyun Hall that makes him not useless. And then the advancement tier of Chahain is really good. Other than that, the changes are not really that big. Oh, and Choi Jong-in's change for team fights. So yeah, that's it. I'll see you in the next video.